I'm a guy who likes playing video games that have interesting stories. The gameplay can be subpar if the story is still able to draw me in. That's why a lot of games that some people think of as meh can still be some of my favorites. I'm also among the people who love The Legend of Zelda for its story. I mean, even if I hadn't played a game before, just that title alone could have drawn me in. Seriously, think about it. In and of itself, that title is incredibly fantastic. It sets a stage in your mind for a huge adventure about to unfold in front of you. The only reason it isn't seen as such nowadays is because of how often you hear about it. Nearly everyone has heard of Zelda, if not played a game. Anywhere that talks about video games talks about The Legend of Zelda. Seriously, it's gotten to the point where The Legend of Zelda is just its own word now. It's all bunched together. But let's take a closer look at that. Why is this title so fitting, and what does it mean for the series as a whole? No matter where you look, online, dictionary, or whatever, the definition of legend is always defined as a story from the past of which people cannot prove the legitimacy. Now think about what that means. First off, it could take place at any time, like old people times like the Legend of Atlantis, or new people times like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. From this, the Legend of Zelda can take place at any time. Well, any time that doesn't have photos or videos as proof that they happened, because if it can be proven, it's not a legend, it's history. Now, of. This part may seem like sarcastic or like a joke, but it has its own importance. Of meaning pertaining to, as in this legend is about this person, but I mean you really didn't need me to tell you that. And finally, Zelda, the female protagonist of the series. This is actually the part that gets the most flack. Now people don't get upset because of the character. You don't hear anyone saying like, why is it called Legend of Zelda? She sucks. The only people who take time to criticize the title are, in my experiences, people who take an interest in the series to begin with, so they simply ask, why is it called The Legend of Zelda when you play as Link? I mean, the big qualm they have with the title is that you don't play as her, and that's really no reason to criticize it. I mean, it's called Shadow of the Colossus, not Shadow of Wanderer, and it's called Call of Duty, not guy who runs around shooting people. But if that's not enough to convince you, let's bring this into our world. Now, of course there are going to be exceptions, but for the most part, when a legend is named after a person, and not, say, a place or event, it's usually named after one of two things: royalty and gods. I mean, King Arthur, Helen of the Trojan War, Odysseus of the Iliad and Odyssey, Hercules. I mean, you can see the trend. And who is the royalty in the Legend of Zelda? Zelda. But wait, your inquisitive fingers type. She's not royalty in Skyward Sword, and right you are. But what is she instead? The incarnation of the goddess Hylia. This is why all the games are named after her, despite most games also having another member of the royal family. It's why it's called The Legend of Zelda, not the legend of a king or a prince or something. I mean, going even further, think about actual history. When you're in your desk, eager to be at school and ignoring everyone calling you a nerd, you learn about European history. Now, unless it's named after an event, like the Crusades or the Black Plague, you learn about time periods based on who was ruling. You think of the 1470s as the reign of Henry VII, not the time Billy the Blacksmith opened his shop for business. So despite playing as Link, Zelda gets more recognition because she's royalty. So that's why it's called The Legend of Zelda. It's a story about a princess who's a descendant of a goddess. But now I'm sure people are defiantly saying, well, if Zelda gets the title because she takes place in the adventures, what about Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening? And hey, while we're at it, why not throw in Phantom Hourglass? Because Zelda's never in there, only her Tetra form is. I mean, I could try to use the argument that Link mentions her, she's in a flashback, and she's in a different form, respectively, but I know you won't bite. So remember this. All of these games are sequels. Direct sequels, in fact. A mundane point to make, but it also explains why Zelda can still hold title rights without actually being present in the games. Link's Awakening is a sequel to A Link to the Past and the two Oracle games. Majora's Mask is a sequel to Ocarina of Time, and Phantom Hourglass is a sequel to Wind Waker. All games in which Zelda has an established, distinct presence. We know Zelda is already around in these times and has already had a pivotal role in the story. If you really wanted to, you could just view these games as epilogues, as where are they now stories for the era that's already been established. So unless you want to cross your arms and glare at me from across the room saying, you don't have enough proof, or it's only called that because it was named after F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, then you're with me on this. But as all things, this holds a dark side. This title is also the reason why Zelda will never get a game of her own. People, fans or otherwise, often bring up the topic of Zelda starring in her own game, being the hero for once, an idea of which I'm fully on board with. But then that brings into question, how would she be presented? Would she still be the princess descended from the goddesses? Or would she be a nobody who awakens the spirit of the hero inside of her? Unfortunately, from a story standpoint, neither of these could happen. If Zelda is still royalty, descended from the goddesses, and the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom, and the hero, there would be problems. With the dynamic as it is, everybody has a pivotal role to play. There's Ganondorf, the big evil dude who has the Triforce of Power and tries to take over everything. Zelda, the princess who helps the hero throughout her quest and bears the Triforce of Wisdom. And Link, the hero who takes down the bad guy and possesses the Triforce of Courage. But what happens when you take away that beats the bad guy title away from Link? Suddenly, he has a third Triforce piece without even doing anything. And because he doesn't do anything for the plot, he doesn't even get that Triforce piece. I mean, he's not a hero anymore. Fighting Ganon and saving Hyrule is what makes him worthy of being a Triforce holder. Suddenly, what we have instead is Zelda saving the day. But wait, that can't happen, because each piece of the Triforce is equal. So we have power and wisdom fighting to a stalemate. And let's be honest, Ganon would win that fight because he could just threaten the people of Hyrule and Zelda would cave because she cares for her kingdom and everything. And what happens to the Triforce of Courage? Link has no role to play, so he doesn't get it. I mean, yeah, you could argue you could make a new character for it, but what role would they play? I mean, they can't be Ganon and save the day. That's Zelda's role now. They can't open new areas with royal decrees. That's still Zelda's job. And they can't tell you about the history of the kingdom because Zelda's the princess and knows all that already. You could actually make a better argument for the Triforce of Courage holder being on Ganon's side. And that's good for nobody. Now, you could try to make a case for a complete role reversal in which Zelda is still the hero and Link is the one who gets kidnapped. Link could have slipped up during his journey somewhere and prompted Zelda to go out and save him. But this has its own set of problems. The first being that the Triforce of Courage holder is never known right away. Well, I mean, it is for the audience, but in the game's world, nobody knows who has the Triforce of Courage right away. Courage always has to awaken or be found by Link before it's revealed that it's his. You never start the game just knowing he has it, except for in the cases of the sequels. And the princess or the queen will always have the Triforce of Wisdom because they're descended from the goddess Hylia. And power is always going to be in the hands of a king or sorcerer, like Ganon. So if Ganondorf realizes he has power, he's going to want to complete the Triforce, and to do so, he'll go where he already knows another Triforce piece is. Wisdom is in the princess. And it's usually that capture, directly or indirectly, that prompts Link to go out on his quest and have the Triforce of Courage awaken in him in the first place. So if Link gets captured, chances are Zelda already is as well. But okay, say Ganondorf isn't the bad guy, say there's somebody new. There's no incentive to capture Link. He doesn't bear a Triforce piece because Zelda hasn't been captured to awaken it in him. I mean, Link's not a hero, he's just a normal guy. So if he was captured, chances are he'd get killed right away. Plus, with no Ganondorf, there's no Triforce of Power. And if the new guy had the Triforce of Power, then he would just, kidnap Zelda, Link would awaken, it would just keep repeating. So with no way to incorporate Courage, you only have Power and Wisdom, aka no complete Triforce. Now you could try to say Zelda could just start in her own game without the Triforce, but what other games have no Triforces? The sequels that were already mentioned, in which Zelda doesn't even play a big role. If she doesn't appear much in it, how could she star in it? So if you still want to make a case for her being the protagonist, you could try going on the other route of having her be a nobody who awakens with the spirit of the hero and goes and save Prince Link or something. But if you take away her princess status, then she's also not a descendant of the goddess, and there's no reason for the series to be named after her anymore. And what games don't have The Legend of Zelda in the title? The non-canonical spin-offs. And Zelda 2. Thanks for watching me talk. And hey, I'm not the only guy on this channel. There are 2 others with me making their own videos, so go check them out. And if I've managed to somehow impress you with this video, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for stopping by. Because if it can be proven, it's not a legend, it's history. As a side note, this also means that no one can disprove the fact that The Legend of Zelda didn't actually happen. That's always fun.